Well, everybody, I want to say a big welcome to part two of how you can begin to learn to love yourself. It was a question that was posed in on part one of this video. I said, for you to properly love your wife, your husband, for you to properly love them, you have to understand the principle of what Jesus said about love yourself as you will love the next person. So this part two, we are talking about how do you love yourself? What will you say that are the factors that will make you love yourself? So without much ado, we're going to dive in. But let me just introduce who I am. My name is Ufuma Obaho, and this is my channel, my YouTube channel. If you are new to this channel, I want you to please go in and subscribe from the channel. Please, I want you to go and subscribe from this channel. Make sure you subscribe. Press the subscribe button so that anytime around we have something new come up, you will be one of the first to know. So I really want to encourage you to go in and subscribe from the channel. The second thing I'm going to say is the fact that please share this video. When you share this video and more people see it, they will be blessed. And I tell you this, you say, why do you think we must share this video? If it means something to you, if it has blessed you, leave a good comment, or even if you have a bad comment to leave. When I mean a bad comment, you don't agree to what I'm saying, leave it, good or bad. Leave a comment on my comment space and I'll respond to you accordingly. Now, why do you need to share it? You need to share it because you are helping somebody else. You are helping somebody else who is having a hard time on their relationship, who is having a time whereby they don't know if their relationship is going well the way it should be going. You are helping them by sharing this video. All right, so please let's do that. Let's come together as a team, as a unit, and let's get this word to everybody that needs it. Now we're going to dive straight into our topic for tonight. I was talking about how do you love yourself? How do you show you love yourself? Because we were saying that by you loving yourself is the same way you are going to show love to your neighbor. And on this case now, your closest neighbor is your husband or your wife. Jesus said you cannot love somebody you don't see without first of all showing love to the one that you see. So you cannot say, I love people a lot, and you cannot even show love to the wife that you have. You can't say, I love people a lot, and you cannot even show love to the husband you have. That is hypocrisy. But you have to learn how to love you first of all. You have to learn how to love you. Because when you understand how to love you, then you will be able to love the next person in the best way. You will be able to love the next person in a way that when they see your attitude, they'll say, yes, that person is showing love to me. So, I want to dive straight in by just reading this scripture. It's a very beautiful one. It's in Ephesians chapter number 5. I'm reading from verse number 25. I can even read from verse 22, because if I read 25, I will be biased in that saying that. But I want you to see the context in which everything was done here. So when you see the context in which it was done, you can then now understand the context I'm talking from. I read, wives, submit yourself to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is a savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, also wives should submit to their husband in everything. Husbands, love your wife just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but a holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. You can paraphrase that to say, whoever loves the husband, whoever loves the wife, loves themselves. Now, listen to this now. I will repeat again. Whoever loves his wife loves himself. You can put a woman there too. A woman that loves the husband loves herself. So a man that loves the wife loves himself. Do you see that? You say, you go back to the thing we're talking about. Love your neighbor as yourself. So if you love your wife, you are loving yourself. If you love your husband, you are loving yourself. Now, the question we are asking here is, how do you love yourself? How do you love yourself? Is there? The answer is right there, and we're going to look at the answer and break it down into smaller sizes or understandable chunks. It says, after all, no one ever hates their own body, but they feed and care for their body. Let me repeat. You see, nobody hates themselves, but they feed and care for themselves. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to read more, but let me stop there. Let me unpack this a little bit. Loving yourself was just explained there. To love yourself means you have to care and feed yourself. Let me repeat. You have to care for and feed yourself. Let's take one at a time. You have to feed or care for yourself. Let's whichever one we want to do. Let's use the word feed. How do you feed yourself? How do you feed yourself? What are you feeding yourself with? You feed yourself with things that are nutritious to you, things that will build you up. That's how you feed yourself. I'm talking today, in case you are just joining in, on how to love yourself. You feed yourself by, you show care for yourself by feeding yourself. Some people think that they live so that they can eat, but that's not true. You eat so that you can live. So you are feeding yourself so that you can be able to function properly. If you are constantly feeding yourself with alcohol, with liquor, and that is all this thing, with all wrong things, you know something, you're smoking, things, you're taking drugs on yourself, you will not be able to function. You know why? You are feeding yourself with the wrong things. Because whatever you feed yourself with, that is how you are going to act out. Whatever you feed yourself with, that is how you are going to act out. How does that relate to loving yourself and loving the next person? Whenever you feed yourself with junk, you are going to feed whoever is around you with junk too. Do you see that? So loving yourself is that I have to feed myself with the right thing. Am I feeding myself right? Am I looking? I'm not talking about fanatical people that constantly watching their figure, constantly watching the way they look, the way they did. They spend about 5 hours on the mirror and begin to think, no, that is insecurity. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about feeding yourself. I'm speaking metaphorically. What do I mean by that? I'm using feeding yourself as an analogy. What do you feed yourself with? You feed yourself. Are you feeding yourself properly in the physical way? Are you feeding yourself? Are you feeding yourself mentally with good things? Are you hearing good things? Because mentally you can be feeding yourself with a lot of junk. You can be feeding yourself with a lot of regret. You can be feeding yourself with a lot of bad memories. This is both male and female, no exceptions. You can be feeding yourself with all these wrong things, and they are not things that will make you grow. If you feed yourself with wrong emotions, always not trusting your husband, always not trusting your wife, guess what? In fact, not even that, you are feeding yourself with that. You don't even trust yourself. You don't trust yourself with anything. Anything anybody asks you, oh, I don't think I can do it. There's always the negativity inside of you. You will bring that negativity out to the next person. That negativity will feed through to the thing you give out. Feeding yourself. He says nobody hates themselves. Nobody hates themselves. They don't hate themselves because they want to feed themselves so that they can grow. They want to feed themselves so that they can function well. My question I'm asking you today, what are you feeding yourself with? You want you to tell me you love me. You want to come and maybe say, listen, I love you. But the truth of the matter is that you're not feeding yourself right. Because you're not feeding yourself right, guess what? What will come out of you would be the wrong stuff you've been feeding yourself with. And that's what you're going to try and feed me with. It may be wrong words. It may be bitter words. It may be unforgiveness. Because that is what you fed yourself with. You have it inside of you. What you fed yourself with is what is inside of you now. Question, what are you feeding yourself with? So in order to properly show that I love me, I have to feed myself with the right things. I have to feed myself with good thoughts. I have to feed myself physically with good food. So that number one, I mean good food. Good food doesn't mean that it has to be expensive. Good food doesn't mean that, you know what, it has to be in a 5-star restaurant. That is not true. Good food means, number one, I will eat the things that will not hurt my body. What will not hurt my body is usually moderation. I will eat things with moderation. I'm not saying cut out food, cut this out. No, I will do them with moderation because I am feeding me. He says nobody hates themselves. In fact, people don't understand that they hate themselves without knowing they are doing it. What are you feeding yourself with? A lot of folks were fed from when they were young that they were nothing. They were fed from when they were very young that they can amount to nothing. Some people were fed with the thing that they and their mother and their father, they just saw quarrel. There was no unity in the house. That was what they were fed with. Now they've grown up, they still have that feeding. They still have that food inside of them. They still have that inside of them. And you know what? They are now feeding other people with it. They are now feeding every relationship they go into with it. The wife or the husband is always hearing from this person that they are not good enough. They are always hearing from that person that, you know what, they are not good enough. And because you know what, they are feeding, they don't love themselves. I want to give you something. Because loving yourself also goes to the fact that if you know something is wrong, you have to begin to change it. You have to say, I've been eating that thing before. I've been taking that thing in. It's wrong. Now I have to change it. That is part of feeding yourself with the right thing. Sometimes it's just stopping what you are feeding yourself with currently that is not good. The next word I'm going to take look into is care. Care and feed. Care and feed. Care is a very brilliant word because the way you show somebody you love them, the way you show yourself you love you, is that you have to take care of you. This is not about just feeding now, it's taking care. Care means I am considerate when I'm doing something. Care means I will put things of protection over me. It's like now, if I'm going outside on a cold day, I have to put on some warm clothing to protect my skin, to protect my body from the cold. That is not what I'm feeding, that is care. Care is about how you protect what you have, but you cannot protect something if you don't see value in that thing. You cannot protect anything at all. You cannot even try to protect yourself if you don't see value in it. This is one thing I believe you have to understand when you begin to look into how we are caring for ourselves. Some people struggle with low self-esteem. Esteem is meaning the value you put on something. They struggle with that, so they don't put a lot of value on themselves. Guess what? They won't put a lot of value on people either. I'm talking to that man today. I'm talking to that woman today that are feeling so low and they are thinking they want to just end it. The reason why you are feeling that you want to end it is because you don't feel value inside of that thing in which you are. That person in which God has made you, you don't feel value in it. Probably it's because of mistakes you've been making. Probably it's because of the mistake you are making right now. But I want to tell you this, regardless of the mistake, regardless of what has happened, there is still value in you. I like what one man did one time. He brought out, it was an American analogy. So he brought out a dollar note. Now, you can use any note, any currency, whichever country you are in. If you bring out your currency, whatever denomination, maybe 10 of your currency, 10-pound note, like in my place now is pounds, and you bring it out and you squeeze it up, rumple it and throw it down, step on it, in fact even smear stain on it. Regardless of what you do to that money has not lost its value. It may have lost his appearance, but the value is never lost. I don't know what mistakes you've made in your life, and you are telling yourself it's over. That is not true. Your value was never lost. You may have lost an appearance. Appearance means the way people look at you may be different. The way they see you may be different, but your value was never lost. And if you understand that, you will understand that in spite of what the way people see, you can still achieve, you can still succeed in that thing, which is your marriage, which you set out to do. You can still succeed in that marriage. You can still have a brilliant success in that marriage because you've learned how to love you. How much value you put in you will be the value you put in your wife. How much value you put in you will be the value you put in your husband. How much value you put in you will be the value you put in the people around you. What value are you putting inside of you? What value are you putting in yourself? Love the other person like you love you. Let me read further. I told you I was going to stop there and I was going to read further. Let me read further. It says here, just as Christ loved the body, verse 30 of Ephesians chapter 5. It says, for we are members of his body. Say, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. However, every one of you must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. I love the way Paul was speaking to the people of Ephesus. He was speaking to the people there. He says, listen, let me tell you this. This is like a mystery, but love cannot appear when you don't have that love for you in the first place. And how do you have the love for you when you begin to understand that I need to feed myself right, I need to care for myself right, and I need to transfer that care and love to the next person? So probably you've been struggling with the fact of loving your wife, loving your husband, and loving the person. Let me tell you this. Probably you've not mastered what loving you first. You've not put value inside of you. You've not put a lot of consideration. Say, wait a minute, I'm more valuable than this. I want my children to have the best. I want my husband to have the best. I want my wife to have the best. Just the way I want the best. Just the way I want the best for me. So I'm going to show me the best. The best means I'm going to remove a lot of things that are not helping me to the next level. I'm going to remove them because they are not helping me. So people, I'm asking you a question today. Are you caring for you? Are you feeding yourself right? Because it's automatic, you transfer it to the next person. The way you will know that you are doing it right is when it is transferable. In psychiatry, there's a word they use. They say, is it proportionate? And is that skill transferable? Is that thing proportionate to what it's like? If somebody says hello and you say, hello, how you doing? Is that a proportionate response? And that response you have, is that a transferable response? Is this something you can transfer to each area of your life? Because you don't go about saying, you know what, hello, are you talking to me? And you go outside and you talk to everybody like that. Guess what? People will think you are mad. So if people would think you are mad, that means it's not a transferable character. That's not a character you should use. It's not a transferable. Do you know what I mean by transferable now? It's not transferable. You can't transfer it to each place. When somebody say, hello, how are you? You say, yes, I am fine, thank you very much. That is a transferable character. It's a transferable thing. You can transfer it outside. Some people will tell people that, you know what, he acts differently when he's in the house. She acts differently when she's in the house. That is true because the action they are having at home is non-transferable. Are you going to today begin to tell yourself, I'm going to love me. I'm going to see how I love me. And make sure that loving me will bring about loving the next person, my wife, my husband. I will feed me with the right things. I will take care of me with the right things. But I will transfer that also by taking care of my wife with the right things. Taking care of my husband with the right things. Feeding my wife with the right things. Feeding my husband with the right things. I'm going to feed myself with good news. So I'm going to feed my wife and my husband with good news. Loving you the way you will love others. I want to tell you this, probably you're struggling with a lot of things in which you don't know how you're going to make it next. Listen, why not you just add and say, you know, God, I want to invite you to my heart today. I want to invite you, God. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about you having a religious fit or having, no, I'm talking about having a relationship with God. That's between you and God. Having a relationship with God in the person of Christ Jesus. That's what I know. This is an inspired word of God. I'm talking to you now. And you can get, it's not about going to church. It's not about joining a denomination. Whichever one you want to go with, that is up to you. That is fine. But have a relationship with God the Father in the person of Jesus Christ. I want to tell you today, you can learn to love you. Because you are beginning to see the value inside of you. You are beginning to see the value inside of you. You are beginning to see the value inside of you. I want to do this to part 3, whereby I will talk about how you can see the value inside of you. How you can see the value inside of you. Seeing the value inside of you. Some of you are not seeing your value yet. When you understand your value, you can dish out that same value to others. Let me tell you this, till we meet again next time. I want you to share this video. Please share it. Distribute it to a lot of people. But know this, you are valuable. And you come from a God that values you. This is Pastor Offerman and his team. and the whole team saying God bless you, and we wish to speak to you some other time. God bless you, Pastor Ofuma.